What is up, everyone? My name is Wynne, and welcome to The Roundtable, our new show here at M&G Media, where we'll break down all things big and small that affect you and me. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get right into it. You know them, you love them, you hate them. Video games have infiltrated our everyday lives, becoming household pastimes and professional careers. Here at The Roundtable, we've broken down genres, the industry, the culture, and everything in between. Take a look. From Pong to Candy Crush or Diablo to Fortnite, the idea of the video game has changed dramatically since the first ever commercial arcade game, Computer Space, was released in 1971. So, what is a video game? By definition, a game played by electronically manipulating images produced by a computer program on a television screen or other display screen. Most video games will fall under the umbrella of one of the 9 major genres: action, action-adventure, adventure, role-playing, simulation, strategy, sports, puzzle, or idle games. And although these categories can be considered fairly broad, there's approximately 56 subgenres to account for the different themes, mechanics, objectives, and platforms that the game can be played on. In the early 2000s, the video game industry became a global powerhouse. This shift meant video game developers and players would play a pivotal role in technological innovation, prompting businesses like Dell, Sony, Microsoft, and Apple to cater more to the gaming community. In 2018, WePC.com reported that 53% of game developers were creating games for PC and Mac systems, topping those developing for smartphones, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One by nearly 20%. But with all the power that video games wield in our society, how regulated are they? Believe it or not, in the US, video game ratings are accepted purely on a volunteer basis. So, in theory, a developer or studio could bypass any rating altogether and call the game unrated. However, just about every game accepts a rating, as most major retailers will only carry games with one. As much as video games have changed over the years, demographic studies show that their player base has changed with them. The idea of video games being solely marketed toward children doesn't really capture the picture of the modern gamer. So, we gathered the results of a few nationwide studies and even conducted our own right here on campus to get a better idea of who's really spending their time in the virtual world.
With the current popularity of video games in today's world, have you ever wondered who exactly plays video games? Research shows that there are more than 2.5 billion video gamers around the world. In fact, video games have become so popular worldwide, the gaming industry is expected to reach $180 billion in revenue by 2021. Seth Darnay, manager at a GameStop, explains the plans for the foreseeable future for GameStop.
GameStop is looking at trying to develop into, if they have esports, and they compare it to like esports and like the Super Bowl and things. GameStop wants to be like the little leagues of esports, and they're going to host their own events and things like that for people who, like me and you, can compete and, try to get it big.
The percentage of female gamers in 2018, which is 45%, shows an increase from the previous year when it was at 42%, compared back to 2006 when only 38% of gamers were female. The best year for gender equality in the gaming world came in 2014 when 48% of US gamers were women. With the rise of people who play video games, online streaming has also taken off in a substantial way. As of 2018, official Twitch statistics set the number of broadcasters at 2.2 million, with the number of monthly users pegged at 140 million. To put this into a little perspective, in early 2018, Twitch had more viewers than Fox News and ESPN. Twitch will not be going away soon, which is great news for gamers everywhere. Michael Gonzalez, avid Twitch streamer, explains why he streams.
It's just really fun because it's a different game mode, and then you get to play with different type of people. And I really got into it when I realized you can make more money off of it because not that many people were good at it yet. So just like little $5 bets every now and then just added up, and it just felt good to win money.
Statistics show that 60% of Americans play video games daily. The fact that 3 out of 5 people admit to playing video games on a daily basis serves as a testament to the widespread video game culture within American society. This number has drastically increased over the years as the number of gamers rises each year.
Of course, no breakdown of the video game world would be complete without tackling the multi-billion-dollar industry itself. In addition to pioneering trends in technology and marketing, platforms like Twitch and YouTube have given gamers the opportunity to turn their pastimes into careers, even leading to the creation of esports.
Esports is a growing industry because it is now more than ever a respected sport among many. Similar to traditional sports, esports has grown from simply picking up a controller and playing a competitive game at its highest level possible. Video games that involve a multiplayer aspect, like League of Legends, have created a competitive community within the League of Legends gaming space. Thus, leagues like the League of Legends Champion Series and Overwatch League were birthed from a subdivision of Blizzard Entertainment. These leagues allow players to compete at the highest level under various organizations for a salary. Players will also make money from various events through prize pools. Some leagues, like the Fortnite League, allow standalone players to compete through different qualifiers. The esports industry is growing fast. Some esports organizations are becoming household names, like the Dallas Cowboys or Los Angeles Lakers. A League of Legends professional team, Team Liquid, has grown so much over the years that they have gained the attention of major companies outside the gaming industry. Team Liquid is sponsored by Marvel, making them one of the most popular teams in esports. These organizations allow players to create careers for themselves. If a player decides to quit the competitive scene, they can still continue to be involved in the gaming community by being a streamer or content creator. The popular streamer Ninja experienced that exact scenario. Ninja was a professional Halo player for Luminosity Gaming, but retired to become a streamer. Ninja started out as a small streamer, but eventually became the biggest streamer the world has ever seen. Ninja was able to make money from Twitch by growing his subscriber base and accumulating donations. Ninja eventually outgrew his organization and became a household name himself. With many more leagues popping up in the United States, lots of career paths will become available. Be on the lookout for some of the esports events happening around you because there are esports stadiums popping up all over the United States.
Coming up, we'll sit down with a panel of video game specialists to get a more personal idea of video games and how they affect you and me. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Each path to success is a journey.
At MSU Texas, you can set yourself up for success while learning on your own terms. Faculty mentors, research opportunities, real-world experiences, and individual attention are just a few of the many advantages of an MSU Texas education.
Live, lead,
And learn in a vibrant, creative community.
make connections that will last a lifetime, and prepare for the careers of tomorrow, today.
Take the first step of your journey with MSU Texas.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Roundtable. Today we have with us three people, each with their own unique look on video games, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Daniel Torres. I'm a junior at Midwestern State. I'm a biology student, and I'm a member of the Mustang Unified Gamers.
I'm Mary Beaver. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have my doctorate degree, and I work with people with various types of addictions.
My name's Jerry Moore. I've been playing for 25 years. I collect rare band video games and I stream. I'm a mass communications junior.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Without any further ado, we'll get right into it. This question is open to anybody, but Mary, I'd like to start with you.
Okay.
When I think of a video game, I think of blank.
That's interesting for me because I'm not a gamer. I think of sometimes wasted time. I think we could be doing other things. I think of isolation. I think that in one sense, technology has taken us very far. Because when I started back in my young age, it was Atari, Nintendo, right? Atari. And so we've come a long way since then, right? We have it on phones. We can do it on our computer screens. We didn't have that back then. So in a way, technology is moving very fast. Some games can help people with their memory. And so I don't want to discount gaming altogether. Because some of my clients do use playing video games as a coping strategy.
Interesting.
And so I don't want to discount it totally. Yes.
That's interesting. So as two gamers,
Right.
some of us for more than, well, you know, for quite a while, when you think of a video game, what comes right to your minds?
It's art. It's it's a way of expressing oneself or an idea of that you want to share with the rest of the world.
Depending on the video game, you're experiencing different kinds of realities. Like you might want to see what a haunted house is like without living in one. Or like the Assassin's Creed series where you actually get to experience like really, really old cities and ancient times.
Interesting.
Also, storylines.
Yeah. So the storylines in video games actually get sometimes more credit than things like films or even
Right.
some novels. You know,
Right.
I know video games that have been credited with saying they were on the caliber with great works, you know, of literature. Now, whether or not everyone agrees or disagrees, you know, is a different matter. But I think you're right that storyline, like the storyline aspect of the video game, is a large component of it. Well, it leads me into my next question, which is that video games have a reputation for being inherently antisocial. Is this still true with the countless massive multiplayer online games? And can we count the relationships that people have with one another through video games alone or the virtual world as legitimate social interaction? Jerry?
I actually don't play with randoms. I play with people I know, friends I've made over the years that have moved to various parts of the world. So for me, it's another way to keep in touch with people I already know, people I don't get to interact with anymore.
So when you say you don't interact with randoms, what does
person.
that mean?
Like, I don't like playing with random little kids. They say things that are really rude when they find out I'm a female gamer. I don't really have as much of an issue with like adult players, but
You mentioned that you get a little bit of flack when they find out you're a female gamer.
if you're better than them and female, you don't want to know what the kind of things they say to you.
Interesting. Now, is that
Wow.
is that primarily a younger kid thing, or is it something you see with adults too?
From what I understand, there's various gamer groups for women where they talk about some of the toxic feedback they get from male players, but most of what I've experienced has been from children.
Okay. And so, Daniel, as a member of the Mustangs Unified Gamers group, do you guys have many female gamers, sort of to Jerry's point, or?
There are some, but like what she said, there's not that many. So I think when male gamers, play video games with a female, and they do better than what they deem better than what they think, she should be able to accomplish. They get mad at that because they can't handle it.
Oh, wow.
And so, Mary, like,
Interesting.
y-
So it's
you know-
like a threat, right?
Yeah,
A gender role
I
threat,
think
yeah.
I think you can see some of that in other
okay.
industries as well, where sometimes women or people who aren't normally seen as the thing they should be doing, and they finally accomplish it. People who have or are doing it, and they feel like they deserve it more than they do, or they should be better than they.
Right.
They feel like I was born to do this, you weren't, and you're better than me at this. So now I'm going to be angry at you for taking something that belongs to me.
Oh, it's
You know.
interesting. It is.
It used to be that the failures in video games were a private thing. You didn't have to share it.
Right.
So I think that the whole making it social probably has led to that whole I'm going to lash out because it's no longer a private hidden thing anymore.
It's more of a public, in a way, embarrassment.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So, and Mary, to the original question, counting these interactions that we have
Right.
solely through the virtual world as legitimate interaction, do you see that as
A problem.
a problem, or?
Yeah, well, I was reading some articles last night on how it's affecting young men, single men, college student men, in that probably around that 16 to about 24, 25 age, where video games has been very prominent in their lives. They've been using a lot of time, and they just don't know what they want to do, but they like doing video games, so they spend a lot of times in their bedrooms or in mom's basement or the family house where they're set up, and they're spending way too much time. So lack of friends, right? Lack of social skills, and they're just not getting out, even to get a job. So that age range is starting to be of concern in the psychology field.
Interesting.
Yes, it is very interesting when I read that, because they said that they're more drawn to the game because pleasure, rewards, excitement, that adrenaline rush, that dopamine release in the brain. And so you need to find a job for them to be in that's going to make that equal. And they don't see that. And so they just rather play video games. And so it's isolating.
That's really interesting, and it actually leads me into my next question, which is
Right.
that it's the idea that many of our gamers have turned their love of video games into careers. Some in playing professional competitive
right.
esports, and some by creating YouTube or Twitch channels, which Twitch is a streaming service to
Right.
stream video games online. What would you say to individuals who most are young men and women of college age range who start those careers? Do you think that sort of speaks to your argument or against it, or to the argument of that article?
Well, we are having a lot of, well, it's been going on for years. People want to get out and, because they do video game, well, I'm going to be a gamer. I'm going to design games. But the industry at that time was not what? Enough established for it, right? And so they go to school to get the degree, and they get out. What am I going to do with it? Because there's not a lot of people hiring them. And so what I would say is that if you're going to get a degree, like you're doing mass communication, know that there's so many avenues that you can take that with, and not just be tunnel vision with it.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So it makes me want to then ask you two,
Right.
as we talk about things like YouTube and Twitch, how do you two believe that those platforms have changed the way we talk about video games and the way we buy video games and the way we sell video games in 2019?
For a while there, when it first started, video game sales had taken a hit because they were just watching online. But now that there's like rules where you can't like stream the entire video game or you can only do parts of it, I think it's helped to increase sales and interest in those games.
Interesting. And Daniel, I know that the Mustangs Unified Gamers Group here on campus, they meet every other Wednesday or every Wednesday, is that right?
Yeah, every Wednesday.
So when we talk about video games, in this big abstract of they exist, on the internet with thousands and thousands of people that we don't all know, but then it comes back to, well, it's a group of friends who get together every week to play it, and that is that social interaction. How do you think that benefits the gamers?
It's social interaction. It makes the game more fun, I think, because I've been playing video games most of my life, I would say, and I think most gamers would say that too. Most gamers my age, and most of the video games that I remember playing, I do remember sometimes playing with myself, but most of the fun times that I had playing video games was with my brother or with my friends, playing Mario Kart.
What other kind of games do you think that, most people, when we talk about video games, a lot of what comes to mind is the admittedly more violent or maturely themed things, but there are those video games that are very family friendly and have, stood the test of time, be it Mario, Kirby, Sonic, things like that have taken modern adaptations and become friendly not only to children but to college age students. Do you think those still have a place in the gaming arena?
Yeah, as long as there's interest, there's going to be a place for it in the gaming industry, I think.
And do you think they have the same isolating effect as more maturely themed video games?
Maybe in the past, but now that everything's so connected with technology, I think there's a place for it.
Interesting. Okay. Which brings me to my next sort of quick question to all of you. I know you don't consider yourself a gamer,
No.
but I'd like to start with you, Daniel. My favorite video game is blank. Why?
I would have to say Mass Effect 2.
Tell me why.
Because it's a story, and there's like an entire world connected to it. Like you don't even have to do the main thing you have to accomplish. You can spend hours just walking around and interacting with the environment. And it's all the little subtle details they put in, like that kind of gets you more interested into the story and the characters themselves, rather than just just seeing it as a video game. It's a story. You get to see the characters. You get to interact with the world. It's amazing.
What kind of world? What is Mass Effect?
Yeah.
Well, it takes place in the future, sort of, and you play as Commander Shepard. You have to gather up an army to face up against the Reapers, just aliens that want to take over the universe, basically. Yeah, so you have to go around the galaxy and recruiting others. and you get to make choices whether you want to align yourself more with this person or that person. And it takes a while, but like there's alternate endings depending on whether or not you chose to be close, interact more with this person or that person, or all equally.
So Mass Effect sort of, it takes that frame that we've seen a lot of video games take recently, in that choose your own story or build your own adventure format, where there are different endings or different things that happen depending on your choices as the player. And I think that speaks to what you said earlier about video games becoming more about the story than anything else. But Jerry, let me ask you, what is your favorite video game and why?
It's actually a series, Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
I'm actually a fan of classic literature, so being able to see the worlds in which those works were written in makes it just that much more immersive.
Interesting. So what kind of, when you say that you like seeing these pieces of history sort of come to life, what eras are we talking about?
I don't really have a selection. It's just I enjoy the entire spectrum. Like if they come out with a different time period, I'm going to want to see it.
Okay. What was the first Assassin's Creed's game about, and where was it set?
Okay, so the first Assassin's Creed, you're basically a game within a game. You have your main character. He's in, I believe it's, I can't remember the name of the apparatus, but the apparatus is actually crucially important. You'll wind up finding there's aliens involved in history and development. You're looking for pieces of Eden. You wind up running around Italy. You meet characters like Leonardo da Vinci. Basically, all the people you read about in your history books, and it's really boring because it's two-dimensional when you're learning about it. But being able to see the world in a three-dimensional aspect is just, it's mind-opening.
Wow. Okay, so you both have much deeper meanings for your favorite video games than I, because my favorite video game is a asymmetrical horror game called Dead by Daylight, which, if you haven't heard of it, it's you have 4 survivors and then 1 killer. It's 2 teams, and the goal for 1 player is to ultimately kill and sacrifice the other 4 players, where their goal is to escape the killer. So it's a lot. It is on par with the darker video games, but it's tons of fun and things I play with my friends whenever I have the time. But that's my favorite video game, which brings me to Mary.
Right.
What is your favorite video game? Do you have one?
No.
No.
I've
Why
never
not?
really got involved in them. I think when Candy Crush came out, because it had all the bells and the whistles, and you were like mesmerized with it, because everybody had to go from 1 to 300 level, and you saw your friends moving, up it, and you want to catch them. But then it was realized it was getting involved with my job, because I was sitting in the car before work, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Do you think it verged on the edge of an addiction in any way?
No, I don't think it did that. I just realized it was taking up too much time.
Really?
I didn't have time for it. I was pushing things aside because it was during the time I was doing my doctorate. And so I was pushing things aside to go to
do
it.
that.
And I realized, I don't want to be one of those people that becomes, so overwhelmed with a game. So I don't have any on my phone. My grandson will ask me, Mimi, you have games? No, I don't have any games.
All right. Well, this brings me to my last point, and it's more of a broad scope subject that, whether you're a gamer or not, we sort of have to face back in 2019. But it's the idea that video games have entered the political discussion once again, reprising their role as the object of blame as we search for a way to stop mass shootings. In a world where there is no conclusive or irrefutable evidence to suggest violent video games lead to violent behavior, how do gamers identify and promote the positives of gaming? Jerry, I'll start with you.
It's stress relief. It's what you go home and do to blow off all the steam. Not many people take their stress relief and turn that into a weapon.
Interesting. Daniel?
Video games are sort of a modern thing. Like, they've only been around since the Pong era, maybe 1960s. But violence has existed, way before that. So I kind of feel when people say video games is the cause for all these mass shootings, I kind of feel like that's just a scapegoat that they're wanting to blame because they don't want to, dig deeper to maybe it's not video games causing that.
And Mary, as someone who, isn't already the biggest fan of video games, when you see these kinds of things in the news, these headlines of video games making children violent, what do you say to that?
Well, we're always trying to figure out why they're going on since Columbine. But their game that they play was Doom. So it was the first game on the market where you were able to stand behind a gun and shoot. So if individuals don't have money, right, at that time, don't have access to guns, they learn shooting, right? Even what Nerf guns, even little kids are crazy about Nerf guns, right? And even teach them how to shoot something, right? So when we're shooting someone, whether it's a fictional character, it's almost in real life, we're losing empathy. Because when we shoot that person on a video game, what do? We jump up and down, yay, we got him, and we yell and scream, right? And are we desensitizing ourselves? So, of course, the criminal system wants an answer, right? We want to blame something. We want the answer, right? What's the causation, right? Is it that it causes aggression? Does it increase someone who already has aggression problems to that point, and they use this avenue to practice shooting? I don't know. I think that's more that needs to be studied. There's been long research study that there's not the cause and effect. Now there's some new research being done in University of Ohio where they're taking gamers and they're setting them up with electrolytes, their electrolobes on their head, and then what's going on with the brain? What is it changing and stuff? I think to say that one causes the other, I don't think so, because there's multiple things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us. It was a great time to see so many different perspectives on video games come together to discuss something that really does affect our society, whether you're a gamer or not. But thank you so much for joining us here at the Roundtable. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and like us on Facebook. We'll catch you next time.